Good Monday morning to everybody. Welcome back from the weekend. This is Fred Razak here at CMtrading. Today is January 18th, 2021, and today is Monday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the US dollar gains versus the major pairs as the Dow Jones retreats from last week. Now looking at the economic events of the day, nothing scheduled for today. But as we look at the various markets, we're watching the US dollar extend its gain versus the major pairs on a very important level. And we're on a very important level across the board. The Dow Jones and the Nasdaq continue to slide. But like I said, there are in important intervals that may actually bounce off of these levels. Looking at commodities, gold and oil slide after having a nice little run, gold being very sluggish lately. Looking at the stocks, they reflect the general markets, meaning that they sold off across the board. Nothing really, stood out strong last week. Now, lastly, looking at the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin is settling in what I call the safe zone. And the reason it's a safe zone is because it's midpoint between $41,000 and $31,000 per Bitcoin. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So you're going to first take a look at a daily chart of the Euro USD, and you can see pretty much it's trading at 120.60-ish level, which is really an important level here. This was a previous resistance-ish level, and it still has room to retrace. Now, if it does break this level, it could certainly retrace down to this 118.50-ish level, potentially. Okay, now the reason I say potentially is because the GBP is actually moving a little bit faster on the downside, but it's a much more aggravated Forex symbol versus the euro, meaning it tends to trade much more with much more oomph and much more volatility than the euro. So with that said, okay, it is retracing a little bit more ferociously than the Euro USD. Now it is hitting a certain point at 35.41. That is an important area for it. Could possibly bounce off of it, but if it doesn't, then we can continue sliding. Now looking at the rand, also getting weaker versus the dollar. Okay, at 15.29-ish level, breaking that 15-ish area after we, touched it. Okay, but it's pretty much in a tight range altogether here. All right, even though that it's, it went even higher, 15.63 last Friday. I would say that we will hit a certain point where there's a correctional move. Now, the reason I say that is because when we do look at the Forex symbols, at the reflective of the indices have gotten weaker, but they're due for a bounce. Now looking at gold, okay, trading at that 1830, but reluctant to break below that 1830. Now I do still think that there's room for gold to go higher as these stimulus packages are continuing to flow with some inflationary concerns down the road. Now looking at oil, we did retrace at $52 a barrel, trading from 53.75 last week, so it's about $1.50 this week. Okay, but nothing major, but a double top did form there. Okay, after we had a very decent run for oil. Now jumping into the Dow Jones, this is where it's at, trading at 30,635 right now. Okay, if we look at a 1 hour chart, it's right there. It really is right there this morning. Okay, if it does break this area, then we could certainly retrace to the bottom 30,000-ish area. Okay, now remember, this week is inauguration, so we may see a rally-ish couple of days going into the inauguration. Looking at the Nasdaq, also retracing here at 12,765. Now looking at Apple, okay, it's at that bottom of that range, 124-ish level. If we look at Alcoa, also, it actually gapped down and slid, okay, at this area. Now looking at JP Morgan, also took a little bit of a breather last week below that 140-ish level. And looking at Facebook, okay, right there, reluctant to break that 243, but it's right there. Okay, a lot of stocks are just right there. Looking at Amazon, also very weak here at 30,098. Still has room to sell off here on the bottom side. Now lastly, looking at Bitcoin, this is where we're trading. Let's look at a 1 hour chart. I think that's going to be a little bit easier for us to see. I mean, all intents and purposes, okay, if we do highlight this a bit here, okay, look at this. This is the high, this is the low of the graph. Okay, we're looking at a 1 hour chart. Okay, from last week to this week, we went from about 41,000, let's call it 41,000, and on the bottom part, 31,000, 32-ish thousand, but it's really 31. And right now, we're smack in the middle of that. Okay, so we have okay, all intents and purposes, have gone 50% on the high side here. Now, I do expect more volatility in this to continue. I think the markets are still very erratic when it comes to Bitcoin. I think we're still digesting the fact that it's in the $35,000 range. Okay, that's thousand, not $35, not $3,500. That's $35,000. Okay, but it's just for a point of reference here. Okay, if you guys would have, bought this in 2019, which is about a year ago, at 3,000. Today it would be worth 36,000. Who could have anticipated that? I don't know. Maybe the Oracle. But all intents and purposes, okay, this thing is still very, very high. Now, there are some people that are saying that Bitcoin's going to go to $150,000, okay, per Bitcoin, which leaves it to be like at a bargain at $36,000, right? But ultimately that has yet to be seen. Okay, not that I'm doubting it. Okay, because someone did tell me about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, this thing would be where it is today. Okay, but nonetheless, not because I'm doubting it, but because I think that the markets still need to digest this, and until that there is a lot more belief in Bitcoin, I think we're going to be trading in an erratic fashion. So starting off this week, just remember, okay, we do have an inauguration on Wednesday, which will inaugurate Joe Biden as president of the United States, and hopefully we'll put an end to some political mischievous, let's call it, okay, in the United States, and we'll be back to business as usual moving forward. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.